everyone, this is Debbie from Project 39. This is a Country Craft Creations design team project. I'm going to do the walkthrough and the tutorial right now. The paper I used was called Majestic Dreams, and it is a paper which is exclusive to Country Craft Creations. Country Craft Creations is an online scrapbooking store. I will put the link in the description box, and you need to go check them out. They have, I don't know how many, maybe 15 paper collections that are exclusive to them. They were designed for and by Country Craft Creations, printed by them, and distributed by them. And everything is done in the United States, which is exciting. So obviously, Majestic Dreams is a horse-themed paper, and I have one of the pages with the horses in the front and one of their cut-aparts. They include 2 sheets of cut-aparts, well, 2 sheets of tags, 2 sheets of cut-aparts, and then 3 sheets of all of the other, and I believe there's 28 sheets in this collection. So 3 sheets of each pattern is fabulous when you're doing a large mini album. Now, let me show you. So here's the cover. This is one of the cut-aparts backed on some black cardstock. So there's that nice effect of a muted, I guess, Churchill Downs, or I don't know my horse parks. And then sort of a vintage pattern behind that, and vintage looking jockeys and their horses. Obviously, this is beautiful, isn't it? I thought I might take some gold leaf and add gold leaf to it. I don't have it in my RV right now, so I haven't done it, but that's beautiful. And then the back is a little more of it, that same muted with some horseshoes. Now you may have noticed this clasp. So there is an eyelet with some elastic coming, which holds the book together. And this has a brad with an eyelet, and I'll show you that a little more in detail later. The inside front cover has 2 diagonal pockets, and there is a photo mat there. You could put small photos there, or one long one that you've cut down, maybe a landscape photo of the horses running. And then this is one of the cut-aparts from the cut-apart sheet, and I just backed it with the same paper. This tuck spot holds another cut-apart and a tag. It's a ticket for the track, and there's the back. So you could journal on here. There's lines to make your writing straight. So we'll put that into the tuck spot. And then on this page, you see another one of the cut-aparts. This is a gorgeous frame, as you would see in a opulent room in the horse track or someone's mansion of their pride and joy, their beautiful horse. So we'll open that up. There's room for journaling here and room for a large size photo there. This page just has a pocket because I really wanted to be able to use this gorgeous paper. So there's 4 rows of this paper on one sheet, and I just thought it was so pretty. So there's that, and these pages coordinate. The pages, by the way, are 4 by 8. 4 by 8. So you could put 4 by 6 photos on here. You might want to crop it down just to have a little border around it, but you don't have to. And then the back page has another cut apart, and I didn't use any magnets in this book except for here. It doesn't need it because it's so small, everything stays together. So obviously we have a waterfall on the back page, and I did put paper on the front and back. This is from the cut apart sheet. I just inked around the edges pretty heavy so it sort of differentiates itself from the paper. So whatever I put on the top, I put on the bottom. And I did put this border of this same paper. I just cut the strips of that gold section and lined that in there. And then the pattern repeats itself. We go with the flowers, the portraits, the writing, and then the striped paper. And this has the striped paper. This is 1 inch, so that paper fits in there perfectly. And as I said, there's a magnet here and there. So there is that. And again the cover, and again the clasp. So now I'm going to take you right into making it. I do not make the cover in this tutorial. I do give instructions for how to make a cover in a different video, which I will probably put up here and link in the description box as well. But I'll tell you the measurements. For the chipboard, you'll need 2 pieces, 8.5 by 4.5, and 1 piece for the spine that's 1 by 8.5. The cardstock I used to cover it was 10.5 by 6.5, so you'll need 2 of those, and 1 that's 4 by 10.5 to cover the hinge. And if you use the Country Craft Creations paper, you can cover without covering with cardstock and then covering with paper. So if you haven't tried that, you can try that next. And you also can make a hinge with the Country Craft Creations paper. I didn't do that in this example, but I have done it in other books and it works wonderfully. So now I'm going to put this aside and show you how to make the hinge. Okay, we're going to do the hinge, and I have a piece of cardstock that's 8 by 6.5 with a 6.5 inch side at the top. So we're going to have the hinge the long way. And there's only going to be 2 pages and then a gusset in between. So we'll start at 2, go 2.5, 3. So those are for the 2 pages. Now we'll do a gusset at 3 3/8. And now we'll do 2 more pages. So 3 7/8, 4 3/8. And that's all we need to do. We'll move the scoreboard. And I'm going to grab my bone folder, and we're going to burnish in the center of the 2 1/2 inch. So there's a 1/2 inch there. I'm going to fold it right in the center of the 2 and burnish. And I'm going to find the other 2 1/2 inch and fold there and burnish. Then I'm going to put that flat. Well, it's not going to lay flat. And now I'm going to push down and pull the paper furthest away towards me to make this mountain of the 2 pages come up. And then I'll just sort of grab that, hold it together so they're both straight up, and bend it back and forth. And I'll do that with the other page. And that's how I train my paper to make the pages go like that. It's not stuck together, but I am going to grab some glue. And I use the Art Glitter Glue from the Art Institute. It has no glitter. I am sure it used to be used to add glitter to projects, but we have found that it is a good, strong glitter. So I'm just adding it to one side of those 1/2 inch hinges. I'm going to put it upside down and fold them together, or pinch them together, just so they stay. And I'm going to grab my little pad, and I'm going to take my bone folder, they're still together, and I'm going to push them one way and burnish. And I know the glue is going to squeeze out the end, and I am prepared for that because I do have an old baby wipe. And now I'll turn it the other way and burnish. So now the hinge will go back and forth either way, both ways, and they're pretty solid. I just put this down so I don't get my tabletop dirty. All right, now I'm going to grab the book that I've already made. So again, the directions to how to make a book are going to be listed in the description box. Go to that video or make a cover for the book however you want to. So I've already made sure the book will open and close, and I'm going to just attach this with glue. I'll put it around the perimeter I'll put it in the gusset and around. Make sure that's going to stay down real well. And then down, I call it on the wings. In other words, I'm going to just put a heck of a lot of glue down here and then center it on the hinge, top to bottom, side by side, both on the top and the bottom. If you're nervous about doing this by hand, then draw a line, but I don't need to. I've done it so many times. So I just start with my finger. I don't use a bone folder because, you know, sometimes you can see it. I don't have a Teflon bone folder. So I'm just going to make sure that the gusset is adhered. Then I'll move one of the hinges over towards the center, then move them both the other way. And that makes sure I get a good solid. This is not going to go anywhere. Now that I've done that, now I can use my bone folder and burnish, and then burnish on the wing. Yes, I see glue there. To be honest, it really doesn't matter in the end that there's glue there. All right, so there we go. Now that's going to dry a little bit, and then once it's dry, then I'm going to make sure this paper will fold. But in the meantime, we're going to make some pages. So you'll need 2 pages that are 8 by 8. And you will need to grab your scoreboard, and you're just going to score these in half at 4. So it doesn't matter what side you put at the top. Score at 4. And then I will grab my bone folder and burnish these pages. And in the same time, I'm making sure that they are straight, which they are. This one, I'm going to I was going to put this in the inside, but I forgot I had used a paper that I had written something else on, so it doesn't matter. We're going to cover it. All right, so we have our 2 pages. Now, we'll grab this. I'm going to take my bone folder and put it down where that seam line is and make sure it's adhered. If it starts to bubble up, then the glue is not adhered, or you haven't used enough glue. So let it dry, or add more glue if you can. But anyhow, this is all done. All right, so what I'm going to do is, I'm not going to have any hidden pockets in this book. If you wanted to, you'll glue it and make this a pocket. Glue it on the bottom and along the side, and then you have a pocket. Now, if you wanted a pocket that was just 4 inches, you would glue along the side and glue right in the middle, so nothing can go further than 4 inches. But I'm not going to have anything inside this. So what I'm going to do is take one of my hinges and put glue on the back side, and I'm doing the hinge to the back of the book first, on the top half of this hinge. Not a lot, I don't want it to slide too much. Then I'll take my page and put it right up against it to the bottom of the hinge. Make sure it's even, top to bottom. And then I'll back off a little bit and move it to the right, because again, there's only glue for the top half. So I am going to make sure that this is parallel to my hinge, and I'm going to fold the hinge over and attach it. Now, to make sure it's straight, I'm going to fold this page over and make sure that it's even on the bottom, it's not wonky, and the same to the sides, and it actually is a little bit off, so I can move it. and it's a little bit to the top, so I'm going to pull it down a little, and there we go. So again, I just have the bottom of that one hinge glued. Now again, the next step is to glue the rest of the hinge down, the rest of the page to the hinge. You ever notice I can't draw a straight line with my glue? So if I wanted to have this as a pocket, say I wanted to have a 4-inch pocket, I'll go a little bit further, I would put glue here and then glue it down. But I'm not going to have a 4-inch pocket, so I'm going to glue the whole thing closed. Then I'm going to take this page and glue it down. And if you have too much glue coming out, next time don't add so much like I did. But it's okay. It's going to dry clear. So there we go with that. I think I went a little too glue crazy. But there's easy way to put in your first page. Probably took me longer to explain than it would take you to do it. So I'm going to do the second one. And now by having the double layer of pages, you have a nice sturdy page. So I'm going to put this down. And now this time I'm going to make sure that it is even with the page before it. So that's why it's really important to get your first page down nice and even. So this is down here. Add glue there. Part, glue there. This part is going to go down, straight flat down. So the bigger part is going to go down on burnish with my bone folder. The part that's going to be sticking out, both of those pages, is the smaller part. And there we go. Simple and easy. I'm going to take my brad. Those are through the hole that is putting the pages into this folio. And then I'm going to. All right, let's move on to the next step. Turn this upside down. All right, now I'm going to show you how I did the legs of this elastic to either side with the brad. So what you'll need for that are 2 eyelets, 1 brad, and a piece of elastic. Back part, and I couldn't tell you the diameter of the elastic, but you don't want any one super thick. And I have a 6-inch piece of it. So I have 2 eyelets, the cover again, and a brad. Once you put your and I got them to match, but they don't have to. I'm going to just I am going to take my a little bit. Your memory keeper's hole punch and punch holes. About 1/2 inch in glue to the top and in the center. That the legs or that it stays even. All right. So I have holes on either side. Now I'm going to take my string or my elastic. All right. For the front page, the front cover, I'm going to have a loop that's about 1 inch. I am going to take 1/4. Well, first I'm going to take a little bit of glue. And you could use a stronger glue than art glitter glue. You could use a crazy glue if you want to make sure this stays good. So put it on. You need to do this after you put your designer paper on the double check it and make sure it will work. I'm going to take my brad, too loose or too tight, and put it, untie it and adjust it on the hole. I'm going to go through the inside of the book to the outside. So my loop is coming through the outside. It's still loose in the inside. And so here I'm going to check it and make sure it's going to work. Do it gently because this glue is still drying. So that'll be good. And even if you put in the pages and the pictures, that'll be good. So now I'll tighten my knot here. And then I'm going to grab tape and grab scissors. Do I need to cut this down? Yeah. I'm going to cut this down so it's about 3/4 of an inch. You don't want to have to pull so tight that this knot will come through. So what I'm going to do is add glue to the knot and put glue on here and tape down the tails of the knot. And just make sure it'll stay down. Now, here's the downside of this closure. It creates a lump in the back of your book. So if you don't want that lump in the back of your book, then you might not like this kind of closure. If so, you could use ribbon, have a flap with a magnet, whatever you want to do. Now let me show you on this book what I mean by a lump. So it's going to be hidden underneath your waterfall. And if I lift up the last page, can you see it? It's ever so slight. But once you put down the decorative paper on the back cover, your waterfall, and decorate the waterfall, it's barely noticeable. But that is one of the cons of this kind of closure. But otherwise, it looks cool, doesn't it? Nice and neat. So that is how I do that. And again, you put it on after you've covered the outside of the book, but before you've added anything to the inside of the book. All right, now we're going to continue with the rest of the book. Okay, now I'm going to show you how I did the 2 pockets on the inside front cover. For my inside front cover, we have 2 diagonal pockets. So for that, I'll need 2 pieces of cardstock, 5 3/8 by 4 1/4. We're going to take one of them and score on 3 sides. So I'll score with the short side at the top, score at 1/2 inch, rotate, put the short side at the top, score at 1/2 inch, and now the long side at the top again, score 1/2 inch. This other one, you will just score 1/2 inch with the long side at the top. So I'll rotate so I get both of those. Now I'm going to miter my corners and fold and burnish. All right, now on both of these, I'm going to take a ruler and on the right hand side, on the score line, I'm going to mark 1 inch. I'm going to mark it on the tab, but the 1 inch is right at the score line. So we'll do that with both of those pieces. 1 inch from the top on the right hand side, make a pencil mark on the tab for where 1 inch is, and the inch will be marked up on the score line. Then let's grab our paper trimmer, and I'm going to put from this very top to the 1 inch mark, and we're going to cut on a diagonal. I'll do that with both pieces. There's one. And there's two. All right, then I'm going to turn this one with the 3 tabs upside down, put that, which is the bottom tab really, it's going to go up on the top, turn the other one upside down, and you can take your ruler, you could eyeball it too, but you could take your ruler and from the very bottom of the paper, make 2.5 inch line. Same here, 2.5 inch line. We'll draw a line. You don't have to if you're good at eyeballing it, but if you want to make sure. So there is the line, 2.5 inches from the bottom. Now I'm going to add glue to the tab from that line towards me, and take this other piece and put it right on the top, matching up the score lines and that pencil mark we made. Then fold this in and burnish. Oh, there we go. So there is our pocket. Now I'm going to take this and just putting glue on the bottom tab, adhere it to the bottom. Make sure you're going to stay to the left of, stay on to the left, line up the left-hand side. That way we stay away from the fold mark over here. Grab some tape, put it on the bottom, and then add glue on the rest of the tabs and fold that in. Now don't forget, we're going to cover up this little leg. I'm going to add some extra glue over there just to make sure that stays in place. So that'll go right there. I'm going to grab my bone folder and burnish. And there we go. We have the inside front cover with a stacked diagonal pocket. Now let's go to the next one. This is page 1 front, and this is going to be a tuck spot. So now I first took this and I'm going to turn it upside down, scored on 2 sides. So I'll score on with the long side at the top and the short side at the top. So you're going to have the score lines, the tabs, to the right and to the bottom. Go ahead and grab your scissors and miter that. And then adhere whatever you're going to put on here. So on my page, it was this piece. And so I put that on and then cut around it. I fussy cut this out first, then put it on, having a little border showing to the right and to the bottom, and then fussy cut around it. And then I adhered it onto here, added the paper. So that is for that page. This page is just a side flap, so I'll show you how to do that. Now just to let you know, in this paper, this side flap was 4 by 6, so I trimmed it down a little bit so the actual cut apart was about 3 3/4 by 5 3/4, because I didn't want this tab to be bigger than this page. So it ended up, actually here's the measurement, I cut it down to 4 1/4 by 5 7/8 with the short side at the top. I scored on the left hand side mitered the corners. I'm going to fold and burnish, add some glue, and that goes on the right of the page. You could put it right up to the top or center it, whatever you want to do. I tend to do it about 1/2 inch from the top. And there we go. So there is the horse flap. The next page has a pocket, just a regular pocket, because I liked this graphic. So for that pocket, cut a piece of cardstock 5 by 3.5. And we're going to score it on 3 sides. So with the short side at the top, score it half, rotate, score another half, and rotate again. Miter the corners. Go right across those crisscross lines. And we're going to fold and burnish on all the score lines. And I'm going to put the bottom part down first. Make sure you go all the way to the right hand side and line up the right and the bottom. And then add some tape to the bottom so that nothing gets hung up in that pocket. And then put glue on the rest of the tabs and adhere it. So there is page 2 front. Now page 2 back just has this other flap. So I simply cut a piece of cardstock 3 5/8 by 4 1/8. And I will go ahead and score and miter, fold and burnish, and that will go again to the right hand side of the book. Alright, now all we have next to do is the waterfall. So we will do that next. Okay, now we're going to put the waterfall together, and that has a little tab with a magnet on it, and it's got 7 pages on it. So let's do that. For that you will need 1 piece of 1 by 4.5 cardstock, 7 pieces of 4.5 by 4, and 1 piece of 7.5 by 4 for the base. So I'm going to take the base and the little tab aside, and these 7 pieces you're going to put the long side at the top and score all 7 at 1/2 inch. Now we don't need to miter these corners. Oh, before I move the scoreboard entirely, I'm going to score that at 1/2 inch and 5/8. I like to have an extra gusset in just so it sits somewhat flat. Alright, so now what we're going to do is we're just going to fold and burnish on the score lines, all 7 of those flaps. And then I'm going to apply glue and it's better to use a liquid adhesive here so you have room to maneuver it. And you're just going to line this up the very top and on the right hand side. So once that first one is lined up, The rest should be easy to line up. So you're just going to apply the glue and put this right underneath that last one and line it up on the right hand side or the left hand side. As long as you line it up on one side, you're good. I mean, generally it should be lined up on both sides. Clear piece of paper would be okay. And then finally you're going to take the 1 inch by 4.5 inch tab and add some glue at that bottom ½ inch on the inside. Line it up and adhere. Make sure it's straight, and then you're good. So we'll take this. We won't put it in the book first because you'll want to put paper down below the waterfall. So once you have that down, you can adhere it, and don't forget you're going to be working on top of this little bump. Before you do that, you might want to take your bone folder and just squish it down. If you put the glue on it, then it'll help lay it flat. And that is it. That is how we made this little waterfall mini album folio with the clasp with the brad and the eyelets. So thank you so much for watching. Don't forget to hit the like button. Don't forget to subscribe and hit the bell for notifications so you know when the next video comes out. Have a fabulous day.